The involuntary manslaughter case against Alec Baldwin from the 2021 shooting incident on the movie called Rust has been dismissed. Are you surprised by this? Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Hollywood actor Alec Baldwin, who was involved with the 2021 shooting incident on the movie called Rust, which he was producing. Now, what happened was an armorer, I suppose, handed him a weapon with live ammunition. When you're on movie sets, the weapons will have fake ammunition. It'll go off, it'll make a bang, but it can't actually hurt anybody. Blank rounds, dummy rounds, whatever you want to call them. In this case, however, the gun had live ammunition in it. I'll get into why that happened in a minute. So he's practicing the scene, doing something, and he points the gun, pulls the trigger. Well, he says he didn't pull the trigger, but experts say there's no way to actually have the weapon go off without pulling the trigger. But anyway, he points the weapon in the direction of people. It goes off. One person, an actress, Halyna Hutchins, died. May she rest in peace. Another person, the film's director, Joe Sousa, got injured. So you got two people shot, one deceased on the movie set, and they're saying Alec Baldwin is responsible, at least to a certain extent. So they gave him an involuntary manslaughter charge. But that case has been dismissed with prejudice, which means it can't be filed again. He didn't get found not guilty. It was just outright dismissed, so the case can't go forward. Now, people are upset about this. They're talking about this case was fumbled and heads are going to roll, all type of stuff. Now, before I go any further, let's get to the actual news clip here. And of course, I will link to everything in the description. If you're on IG, visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Breaking news, the involuntary manslaughter trial against Alec Baldwin has just been dismissed.
This video shows Baldwin exiting the courtroom in New Mexico where the trial was being held right after the announcement was made. NBC4's Ted Chen joins us now with more breaking new developments. Ted.
Kathy, Annabelle, this was a ruling on a motion Alec Baldwin's team filed at the end of court yesterday. They accused the prosecution of withholding evidence, live rounds that were brought to police that they say could have revealed where the bullet that killed Halyna Hutchins came from. The judge agreed, and Baldwin broke down.
The sanction of dismissal is the only warranted remedy. The jury has been sworn, jeopardy has attached, and a mistrial would not be based upon manifest necessity. Further, the sanction of dismissal is warranted in this case. The state has repeatedly made representations to defense and to the court that they were compliant with all their discovery obligations.
Let's pause for a minute. Now, I'm hearing the official reason why this case was dismissed. I hear it. I'm not just ignoring it. But do you think that's the 100% reason why this case was dismissed? Or we're talking about Hollywood actor, famous guy. It was a mistake, but at the same time, it wasn't. I'll get into that in a minute. But do you think they were really going to lock him up for involuntary manslaughter? Was he going to go to jail, really? Part of me, when this whole case was happening, was like, okay, they might lock him up because they're pretty serious. They seem to be aggressive and motivated to get this prosecuted, but now I'm seeing that they're pretty much letting them off the hook, and that's it.
Despite their repeated representations, they have continued to fail to disclose critical evidence to the defendant.
Alec Baldwin in tears as the judge dismisses the case against him. He had been charged with involuntary manslaughter in the death of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins. As you see Baldwin walk outside, the judge said she was dismissing the case because prosecutors failed to disclose new information to his defense team, ammunition, as I mentioned, that was brought to police that Baldwin's lawyers say were a match to the bullet that killed Hutchins. That information, his lawyers say, could have helped trace where the bullet came from and who was responsible, maintaining that Baldwin bore no responsibility as an actor who was carrying out his scene.
I don't understand. So when they say where the bullet came from, what does that actually mean? Does that mean who the bullet came from as far as who put the bullet into the weapon? We're talking about that because we know where the actual projectile that struck and killed Halyna Hutchins came from. That came from Alec Baldwin's gun. Now, the question is it his fault that that was the case?
The judge said the failure to disclose was willful and deliberate on the part of prosecutors and impacted Baldwin's chance to have a fair trial. She said that in the end, there is no way for the court to right this wrong. Alec Baldwin walking out of court no longer a criminal defendant. I'm Ted Chen, NBC4 News. Kathy Annabelle, back to you.
All right, Ted, thank you so much. Right now, we want to bring in legal analyst Royal Oakes to help us all understand exactly what this decision means.
Royal, thank you very much for joining us. Are you at all surprised by this?
This is a stunning development. Judges almost never dismiss cases. They do everything they can. They'll give a jury instruction saying to the jury, the DA misbehaved, or they'll exclude some evidence, or they'll give a mistrial. We're going to rewind and start over and give the defense a chance to look at this. None of that was good enough for this judge. She found that they hid the ball. It was basically a cover-up. A guy walks in to the sheriff's department a few months ago after the armorer was convicted and says, I got some bullets here, and I think it'll help solve the question of how did a live bullet get on that rust set?
Okay.
And instead of giving it to the defense, which the prosecution had to do, and following up with the guy, they buried this in a totally separate non-Alec Baldwin file. The judge concluded that the witnesses in the last few days lied on behalf of the prosecution.
It sounds like the prosecution intentionally fumbled this case. They intentionally blew the case up. Because, look, why would you hide that? What is the reason for, I don't understand. So maybe they thought that would hurt their case against Alec Baldwin and they couldn't get him prosecuted? I don't get it. It seems like they blew the case up intentionally to have this be the result. Maybe I'm wrong, because that could be some kind of criminal penalty if you do something like that and you're caught and convicted. Like hiding evidence, is that a crime? I'm not really sure. But yeah, this is really fishy.
Prosecution, this judge was locked and loaded. The motion was filed last night. And when she read her decision just an hour or so ago, it was lengthy. It was filled with case citations. So I think she knew where she was headed with this decision even before the blockbuster cross-examination of today.
And Royal, what does this mean for prosecutors? Can they refile, or this is it?
This is it. Now, theoretically, they might be able to appeal this judge's decision. They're not going to do it because this is a wound that cannot be closed. They want to put this in their rearview mirror.
I think the whole thing with the prosecution did, it makes it to where the case is now toxic. Even if you wanted to refile, you can't actually refile because I think the case was dismissed with prejudice. I read that in the article, and he just said it right there. That the judge said you can't file it again. Even if you could, it'd be a toxic case at best because of the whole thing with the prosecution. So, as I was saying earlier, I'm not totally buying the reason why this case was dismissed. I think that there might have been a plan from the beginning to torpedo it so it couldn't go forward and he get off with a slap on the wrist at best.
Know they would lose on appeal. And the amazing thing is, this is the gang that couldn't shoot straight, if you'll pardon the expression. This is the DA's office that initially charged Baldwin with a 5-year prison term statute. And then, that statute was filed after the shooting, so we can't use that. Then they hired a prosecutor who was illegal because she was in the legislature. Then they dropped the charges and refiled them after getting an FBI gun report where the FBI guy hit the gun with a hammer, destroying it to the point where the defense couldn't test it. So this is just the fourth of a number of huge mistakes by the DA.
You know what? And here's another way I could look at this, and pardon the freeze frame from my man. Another way I could look at this is some incompetence. Why would the federale smash the weapon? Either it's incompetence or you're trying to cover it up. Why would the prosecution not allow this new evidence to come into the case? Either it's incompetence or you're trying to cover it up. What's really going on?
By the DA, I think some heads are going to roll in the Santa Fe DA's office.
Oh, yeah, because, either you got morons in there or you have an effort to make this whole case go away. I'm leaning more toward the moron element of it. And, of course, people like Alec Baldwin would want to see Alec Baldwin not go to the penitentiary to make big rocks a little. So there could be some kind of manipulation in the background. But I think a lot of this right here, it's just a lot of moronic activity. You're trying to foul, you're trying to convict him for things that weren't even laws before the shooting, dumb things. There's more to this, but I'll link to everything in the box. But as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to New Mexico. Obviously, you guys did not have all your ducks in a row. Listen, you want to try a high profile case like this, it's going to be all over TV, all over international news. You can't be half stepping. You can't have no rookie guys in there trying to do this. Yeah, this was really bad from the beginning. Before I actually close, I almost forgot. This is how the bullets got on the set of Rust. In between takes, people in the staff, some of the, they were plinking. They were shooting targets when they weren't on camera, when they weren't working. Something to pass the time out there in New Mexico. Now, the armorer allegedly mixes the live ammunition with the blank ammunition, hands a gun to Alec with live ammunition in it. He shoots, somebody dies. Now, the reason why somebody might want to blame him, Alec Baldwin, for getting handed a gun that has live ammunition in it is because he's the boss. He wasn't controlling all this stuff that was going on with the offset plinking and the armorer kind of just not really doing right, because there were other issues with this armorer before on other sets, maybe even on that set. He kind of ran a slip shot operation. This is the reason why the bullet with the live ammunition wound up in his hand. That's the argument that was leading up to involuntary manslaughter for Alec Baldwin. But obviously you can make an argument and bring forth charges, but can you actually get it convicted? Do you really want to convict this man? I can't really tell, but I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on what's happening here with Alec Baldwin? Are you surprised? Did you see this whole thing coming? Did you not see it coming? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I can't really say I'm surprised, but I think we got some morons out there in New Mexico that don't know what they're doing, and or people that have a vested interest in seeing Alec Baldwin go home. People that really shouldn't be behaving in a certain way, but they are. I think it's a combination of both, but more the people that are not dealing with a full deck. I think it's more of them than those who just want to have Alec Baldwin back home. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.